Hello folks, welcome to another edition of BC Renovation Magazine. In this video I'm going to show you how I finish off my skirting project here. So I do my skirting a little bit different than most people, and I don't use the heavy mold, the vinyl molding around the top. Instead I like to use this plank. It's called a Smart Trim. It's a product that's used with hardy planks. And I like to do this because it gives a bit more of a residential look. It gets away from that mobile home look. So if you'd like to see how I install that board, stick around. Okay folks, so this is kind of part 3 of my skirting job on this old mobile home here. I've got 2 videos before this one that show you how I've got to this point. The first video was sort of how I prepared my backing for my skirting here. I do this different. I don't use that big vinyl molding that a lot of people use. Again, I'm going to be using a Smart Trim product that's going to match the windows. So that's a 6-inch. I'm going to be using an 8-inch on here. So the first part, the first video, part 1, kind of it was getting that all ready. I showed you how I set this all up, explained it in that video. If you're interested in that, go back and look at that video. I'll put a link of it in the end of this video. And then on the last video I installed all the vinyl parts, which was the vinyl channel and the vinyl panels. And so now I'm getting ready to install this big board. And so what I've done here is I've just taken a piece of tar paper. This is 13 inches, and just rolled it out just to the bottom of the sheeting on the mobile home here. That's all I've done. I'm leaving this space here completely open so that the skirting will go up and down. Again, you can see these screws in here. Those are just temporary. Those are all going to come out as I apply that board. So my board is it's called an 8-inch board, but it's actually 7 1/4 inches. So I've set this up to go from here down, so it's going to overlap this top of the skirting, and it's going to hold the top of the panel there from coming out. And so the what I have determined is I'm going to have roughly 4 inches above, and so it's going to be 4 1/4 above. So let me pull my tape measure here to show you. Okay, so my board is 7 1/4. Okay, so there's 7 1/4. You can see 7 1/4 on the chalk line there. So there you can see how much it's going to overlap onto the top of the skirting there. So this is kind of important. This board is going to be the board that our siding is going to sit on, and the siding is, everything is going to go up from that board now, the top of that board. So we want to have this board positioned correctly, and it's a bit tricky because we've got to go around the whole building, all the way around, and then come around the other side and back around the front here. And we want the board to line up all the way around. So I find that the best way to do that is to use a laser level. So now that I have established this line here, this is going to be my line now, and I'll use the laser level to take this line all the way around. Okay, now if you don't have a laser level, you can use a bubble level, which is one of these guys. This is your old-fashioned bubble level, and you can just sort of level as you go. But there is a certain degree of error in these. To get the bubble in the center, there is, as you go from board to board, by the time you go around this whole thing and get back to that point over there, you can be out. So I'm going to use the laser level, and if you've been watching some of my other videos, you've seen the laser level, and this is it here. And so this is my little setup, and so right now my laser beam is shining over there. I've made two marks. I made one at each end. So here you can see, if you look right in here, okay, you can see, I'm not sure if it's going to show up in the video, but you can see the red laser light shining in there. Okay, and I've done so at the other end there's a similar mark, and all I've done now is stretch my chalk line. This is just a chalk line from point A to point B, and this is perfectly level now. So, you know, any discrepancies that we're going to see in you know, in the mobile home itself, we're taking that out. We're establishing a benchmark, what we call a benchmark. And now this is our benchmark. It's going to be level, and you know, now we're going to go up from here. And so ultimately, when we get to the top, if there's any discrepancies, they're going to be taken up at the top, you know, when we do our siding. And there will be discrepancies because, you know, these things are not built perfectly straight. But up there you don't really notice it if it's out, you know, like a quarter of an inch here or there, because, you know, things are wavy up there, and they are wavy. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. So what we're going to have is a nice straight line when we get our board nailed on here. You know, we're going to start stacking our siding up above this. Okay, and these lines are all going to be straight, you know, at eye level here, straight and level, and so it's gonna look nice. I was going to say something else here. So yeah, back when we installed the windows, you know, we were careful to get the tops of the windows lined up. And so again, you know, when you're putting on a horizontal siding, you know, as you get to the top, you know, you're going to want it to come up, you know, be as close to the same as possible. You know, again, these are old mobile homes. You know, they're far from perfect. Now this was some videos back, we leveled this home. Okay, so this was well, a thing we did to prepare for this is we leveled the home. So, you know, we've got the floor level and the home level. It was out quite a bit. It was about, I don't know, a couple inches out of whack. And so now, you know, before we do this job where we're establishing a level, we wanted to have the unit as level as possible. And again, there is discrepancies, you know, in the level. It's not perfectly level. The floor in there is not perfectly level. I like to get them plus or minus 1/8 of an inch, so we're within 1/4 of an inch of being level, you know, up and down. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to snap that line. So that's just a chalk line. That's a line that's got chalk on it. I'm just going to pull it and release it, and it's going to snap, and it'll leave a line of chalk, which is going to be my guideline to start installing my board. Okay, so I've snapped my line on there now. This is the chalk line now. I've snapped that. So that is my perfectly level line from end to end. And my boards are 16 feet long, and so, you know, this is over 16 feet, so it's going to take more than one. I think it's going to take more than two. I think it's about 40 feet there. So where do you start? I'm going to start on the corner, because I'm going to miter my corners. And so what I've done here is, you know, I work by myself, and so I kind of do some things, but, you know, this to make it work for me, but this, you know, you can use this to work for yourself, so if you have help. So what I have done is I've just taken 2 pieces of scrap. I'm using the 6-inch, you know, from the window trim, and, you know, what I've done is just I've mitered them, okay, both of them, and I've put this up here where, you know, the other piece is going to come. All right, so kind of like that. And what I've done is I've screwed this on the back. I've screwed this piece here to the wall. Now this gives me a guide of where this miter is going to fit into. All right, so this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to take my 16-foot board, and I'm going to cut a miter on it, and then I'm going to sort of fit it into this, you know, up against this, so that when I put this board on, the next one, it will fit into the corner, and they'll meet at the corner here. All right, and so then I'm going to start here, and, you know, this is the hardest one to do, especially if you're on your own, because, you know, there's a lot of things to hold here. But I'm going to start with this, and then I'm going to go down this way, and as I go along, I'm going to just be doing butt joints. Okay, I'm not going to do anything fancy, no miters, no scarf joints. I'm just going to do butt joints, and I'll show you how I handle that. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. You know, we're not building cabinets here, folks. You know, just like when we did the joints up on the top there, those are all butt joints. So, you know, we don't have to get fancy with a lot of, you know, fancy woodworking joints here. Just a butt joint, it's very simple. And so the reason that I've started up at the end over there is that as I get down to this end, I'm going to have a small piece left that will be easy to fit in between here and the end of the other board. Okay, so now when we get to here, we're not going to have a miter, because when we come around the deck, we're going to drop, this board is going to get dropped 2 inches. So the tops of these boards are not going to line up. So this board is going to get run into the side of the deck, and then the board on the deck is going to get run into this way. Again, just a butt joint. It's going to be nothing fancy there. This is really easy, folks. It's you know, a lot of people try to make you think that this is like rocket science, but it's not. It's really simple. Okay, so I'm going to get set up, and then I'll bring you back. All right, so I got my first board ready to go. This is going to be it here. And so again, now this is the same smart trim as we used on the windows, except, you know, this is a bigger board. It's 2 inches bigger, and I'm going to use, this is an 8-inch, and when I get to the soffits, I'm going to be using the same board. So we're going to get some continuity going, you know, consistency between this and the top. We're just going to tie it all together. And so I've pre-painted this. It's got one coat. And once I get it installed, I'll be adding another coat. And I've just cut a miter on the end of here, just a 45-degree angle. That's all I've done. And so I'm going to bring this over now and line it up on my line along the top with that blue chalk line that I put on there. And I'm just going to fit it to the corner, and so I'll be start nailing it down here. And you know, that's a pretty heavy board. It's composite, so it's heavy, and I'm here by myself. So this here is my hired man that's going to hold the other end. And so, you know, when you work on your own, you have to kind of do these little things. And I just made up this little thing, and what's going to happen is the board is going to come through, and it's going to sit on this, okay, and hold it while I'm on the other end, and so that it's, you know, up to where it's supposed to be. So that's my third hand, my hired man. Yeah, I like that. No coffee breaks, never asks for a day off, no vacation pay. Good worker. Very important step here now before I put this board up, and I have to admit that I have forgotten some of this sometime in the past, and I had to take the board off. But all of these screws that I've placed in here to temporarily hold these panels, you know, along here, they all have to come off now before I put the board up. So important step. We don't want this right now. You know, this panel's not floating, it's secured there, and if it settles, you know, with this screwed in panel here, if it settles or the frost heaves it or anything, we're going to get a bow in this panel. So yeah, make sure you take the screws out. Okay, so I got my board sitting there. It's just sitting there. It's not nailed in. So you can see how this gizmo works here on the end. Yeah, I just screwed it to the building here just temporarily with a screw, and it's just hanging there, and it's just sitting on that little block that I made. And I can slide it back and forth in there to get this adjusted. And so this is, you know, this is the end now that I'm going to fit and nail it. Now, to nail it, I'm using an air nailer. And so that's my Porter cable finish nailer, and I'm using these are the nails that I'm using. So I'm using a 2.5 inch galvanized. Now, it's important that you use galvanized outside, all right, so they don't rest on you. And so this is a 15 gauge, which is equivalent to an 8D as a finishing nail. All right, so that's how I'm nailing it on. Now, if you don't have this, I mean, you can rent it. You know, maybe you can borrow it from a friend. Or you can just do it the old-fashioned way and just get some 2.5 inch 8D galvanized finishing nails and just hammer it on with a hammer. All right, so I'm gonna start. I'm gonna get this nailed in place here. Okay, so you can kind of see I've got my first corner here. I've started here. Now my miter's a little bit off, and so, well, my miter's not off, but what is happening here is that this corner is not exactly square. So when I cut my back piece, the next piece, I'm going to take a little bit off of what we call the heel. So I'm just going to take a little bit off of that, and so that's going to tighten up this joint here. And but you know, it's touching in the back there, so that's, you know, I'm in the right place endways. Now I'm also going to be caulking those the same as I caulked the joints on the window, you know, to make that watertight. And it also, the caulking sort of acts like a glue. And then I'm going to also be nailing it through, you know, nailing the boards together on the corner. So it'll come together pretty good. Now one thing you have to be careful of here, folks, when you're nailing this now, is you have to be careful not to nail. You don't want any nails going through, you know, below here. Okay, so you don't want any nails going in there or into your skirting, right? Whoops, boy, just about missed that one. I got to get that guy out of there. Yeah, so you want to, you know, do all your nailing in the top, you know, 4 inches. Okay, so you can see here I've got 2 nails on the end. This is all it's holding it now on the end. So you can see I've nailed there and I've nailed there. Okay, nothing down below. So now I'm just going to go along, you know, line it up. You can see that the top of my board is lined up with the blue line there. All right, and so as long as I've lined up the blue line, I'll just go ahead and just nail it on now. And it's going to be 2 nails every 16 inches. All right, so I've got my that board is nailed on tight, and that's it. That's going to be the finished look there, folks. So once we landscape here, we're going to put some mulch in here, and we're going to come about 1 inch above the top of that bottom molding. That bottom molding is going to disappear, and all you're going to just see there is just the you know, just the panels. No big plastic molding on the top. You're not going to see the molding on the bottom. Now you can see here how this tar paper has gone underneath this board, so any moisture that happens to get underneath there is, you know, the building is protected. Now it's not going to get any water in there. That's going to be watertight, because what we're going to be doing to finish this now is we are going to be putting a siding on here, or sorry, a flashing on here. An aluminum flashing is going to go on here. It's going to come over with a lip, and it's going to come up the wall. And then we're going to be putting our house wrap down over top of that, and then our siding on top of that. So this joint here will be completely waterproof when we're done. And that's different than is normally done with a mobile home. Even on the new ones, this joint is not watertight. Where they put, you know, the skirting and put that big vinyl molding, there's always a joint there that is exposed. They do run the house wrap down, so you do have a little bit of protection, but the way I do it, the water isn't even going to get inside of there. And of course, before we do all that, we're going to put the last coat of paint on there. So now you can see the detail here with the, you know, this is the proper size board now. So we've got you can see now here how the I'm trying to come in close there for you. You see how we got a little bit of play there. Okay, so we've got some play this way, and then we've got this space at the top, and it's about 1 inch. You know, we don't get heavy frosts here, so for us, you know, it works well. If you're in an area that gets, you know, heavy frost, it gets like -40 or -50 for weeks at a time, then you should probably leave a little bit more room in there. But you know, for our climate here, which is semi-arid desert, you know, we get a little bit of frost, but not much. It doesn't last long. So this is how, you know, how we've left this top floating now. Okay, the bottom is locked in to that channel, and that channel is spiked to the ground, but this is how we make this float. Okay, so now I'm going to get my next board, and like I say, this is just going to be a butt end. I'm not doing anything fancy. If you want to do something fancy on yours, you go right ahead. I can tell you that I've tried scarf joints and, you know, all kinds of joints on these, and for me, the best is just to go with a butt. It just looks the best. All right, so I'm going to prepare that next board, and I'll be laying a bead of caulking in here and pushing the other board up to it, so that's going to sandwich in there and seal that. Okay, I've got my I've moved my hired help down there, and so it's sitting there ready to hold that end while I, you know, fit that end in there. Okay, my next board is up. I'm ready to install. And so all I've done here, folks, again, is just a butt joint. And I've put a bead of caulking in there, and now I'm going to push the board into that caulking, and that's going to make that joint weather tight, and it's going to prevent any water from driving through the joint and getting into the building. So that's just going to smush, and you know, then when we do the next coat of paint, you know, we'll be filling anything that's still showing in with paint, and that'll be a watertight joint. All right, so I'm to the corner here now, and this side is done. So now I will carry on around the corner from here, and so I'll go across the back, and again I'll use my laser level to get it, you know, everything at the same level now. So now I have this point here, so now I'll just carry this level point across with my laser over to there, and you know, snap a line just like I did along here, and just, you know, just carry on around the corner. So that's kind of how it goes. So there you can see it. It's pretty straight, you know, a little bit of wibble wobble, but you know, this is a almost 40-year-old mobile home, and you know, there was quite a bit of damage down here. We fixed it. Yeah, it's good. All right, folks, so we'll get ready to go around the corner here now. Okay, so I'm just carrying on around the corner now, and so all I've done is, you know, put another roll of tar paper on there and carried on my level line now, which is here. You can see it, I've snapped it, and I just use my laser level. So this little guy right here to, you know, pick off that level mark there, and then I made a corresponding mark over here with a laser, and then just snap the line from point A to point B. And then I've just done this little mock-up here on this corner like I did with the other corner. So I've just, you know, have this piece of scrap and have, you know, just sort of mocked up. So, you know, this will be my corner. And so now that I have this piece, I just screwed it on temporarily. So now I have this board, you know, that's down this side. So I have it here with a 45, and so I'm going to measure now from the outside. I always measure on the long side, so I'm going to measure from this point to this point. Okay, and I've got that measurement, and it's 170 7/8. And so here I have my board on the bottom that I've cut, and so there you can see my miter joint there. All right, so that's going to come up and fit to my miter joint there, and then likewise here, this is going to line up with that. So again, now I have another joint here, so I'll be smearing a bead of caulking on here as well to, you know, to seal off this joint, and then just go ahead and nail it on. I'll be setting up my little third hand here. So this is it here. Okay, my little gadget, and this is just going to sit here like such. I'll screw it onto the wall, and that will hold the end of the wall for me while I start down there and nail and work my way this way. Alright, so I'm all set up to lift my board up into place. So there you can see I've got my my miter joint caulked, and got my handy dandy little third hand set up here. So just ready to lift that up now and put it in. Okay, so you can see the squeeze out there now on that joint. So I'm just going to wipe it off now, and then I'm going to sand that, just sand it down a little bit. And I have nailed this corner together now, so I've got 3 nails. I've got 3 nails going in this way, and then I've put in 2 nails this way to lock the boards together. Okay, and then that was the first one that I put while I worked on this. Okay, just to hold it there. And so now this is just hanging here off of this thing here, and now you can see there's my joint there. So, you know, once I get this board nailed on, you know, then I'll work on this and take off and go down this way here. Okay, so there you can see how that corner works. So now, you know, this is just going to get sanded over, and I'll just fill it, and then it's going to get another coat of paint. And so I've just got this tacked on here. I got a nail at the end and I got a nail in the middle, but before I get too crazy here, I just want to double check and make sure that I'm level. Make sure that my laser and everything is good. So you can see I've just put my bubble level on here as a check, and there you can see the bubbles right in the middle. Alright, so I'm coming around the corner, and what I've done on this side, because I'm going up to this little landing here for the steps, and so then, you know, I'll be dropping my board and coming this way, but there's going to be a set of steps in here. So what I've done is, instead of starting at the corner there with my big piece, I've started here with my big piece, and I'm going to make my splice back out here. Reason I'm doing that is because, you know, this is a traffic area here. We're going to have steps here, and so, you know, I don't really want to have my seam here. I'll put it down there where, you know, hardly anybody's ever going to walk and notice it. But, you know, up here, you know, people are going to be on the deck, they're going to be on the stairs, so I wanted to have my full one in here. Also, it makes it a little easier for me to fit this last piece in here if it's smaller. So I'll fit this in, and then we'll carry on from there. Alright, so we've made it around from this deck, around the house, to the other deck on the other side. And if we've done everything correctly, this point is going to be at the same elevation as at the point on the other deck, as far as being level. And so now I'm going to carry on around the front, and so I'll be taking my laser and I'm making a level mark from here on the other side, and then carrying along. And again, if everything is working out the way it's supposed to, we'll end up at the same elevation when we get back to that other corner. So that shows you how I do this, folks. I don't think I need to bore you with any more of this technical stuff, so I'm just going to go ahead and you know, work at just, you know, finishing it off. And when I get to the decks, I'll show you what I'm going to do with the decks. Alright folks, so I've got that skirting board on all the way around. Here's what I did at the deck. So because the deck is 2 inches lower, I've lowered the board 2 inches lower below the main board. And, you know, that gives me a nice little bit of a reveal here. If I didn't drop it, it would be really close to here, and, you know, it's hard to paint and stuff in there. So this is going to be getting a semi-transparent wood stain of some kind, and so that'll all get stained yet. But yeah, that's how I did this corner here. Just notched it out, and nothing fancy there. I just notched this over, and so this slides in underneath that one there. That's all there is to it. And then around the stairs, this is how I did my little detail here on the stairs. I came up to the stringer and just notched out the tread. That's all I did there. And so once it's all stained, I'm going to go with a gray color, I think, so it's all going to sort of blend. It'll be more, you know, the same color. And this is how my little thing trimmed out here for the this access to the crawl space. And that's still just a temporary panel there, but all I did was, you know, just run my board across the top, and then I just used 2 pieces of the 1x6 that I used around the windows to you know, to just go down the side of it there. Now this all just has to get another coat of paint, so, you know, we'll be doing some filling and stuff yet before we do the last coat of paint. So that took me a couple days. It's a big job, especially when you're doing it by yourself, you know, to hold the end and stuff. Now here at this back landing, this little deck, I've left this for the stairs, so I'll be building the stairs. The stringers are going to come up to that board there, and it'll come off of the beside that board there in between, and then I'll just build the steps. So And I've got this area outside ready now for my HVAC guy. And so this is how I like to do my decks. Some people leave their decks open underneath. You know, I like to do the skirting underneath and run my board around it. Just makes it look like, you know, it was all built here at the same time. It takes away that look that this was added on. So again, it's going back to my little theme that I sort of have with these homes, is to try and make them look like cottages. So, you know, with a stick-built cottage, you don't build the decks afterwards. They're all built integral when you build the, you know, build the main home. And so this is the area for the condenser for the new HVAC unit. Now, this is how this is going to end up. I just did a mock-up here. I just have this here so that when the guys come for the HVAC, they know where to set their disconnect and where the line set's going to come out. It's just give them a reference point how this is going to finish off. But this is how it's going to be. This is how we weatherproof this now. So this piece of flashing is going to go down over top of that board that I just put on, and then our building wrap will go down over top of this flashing, and then I'll be applying a J-trim and then my vinyl siding, so no water is going to get back in underneath that when I'm done. So, you know, that little piece of flashing there has got a pretty good little slope on it, you know, to get the water off of it. So that's what's gonna finish this off now, and we'll be going into our siding. And guess what color our siding is going to be? It's going to be white. All right. So yeah, this is how this finished up. This is how it finished up around the gas meter here. So I'm still going to be putting some duct seal, which is like a putty that electricians use, around that gas pipe to just sort of seal that off. But that's really the only place that's got, you know, it's through to the crawl space. We've had a pile of rain here today. It just came down in buckets. I'll tell you, it just came down. It was incredible how hard it rained here. And so here's how that board turned out, you know, around the front, this front shape here. So you can start to see how, you know, this little details coming together here for this front, how I'm changing it. So yeah, we're starting to see it come together. All right, so next project, we're just about we're almost to the roof there, folks. Pretty soon. Got one more thing that I want to do yet before I get into the roof, and that's getting ready for my HVAC system. So, you know, it's going to take some time to get those guys lined up and get them here and one thing and another. So I have to get this area here ready for my new furnace and air conditioner. And so, you know, this is the old thing that's going to be going out of here. And, you know, this is the hot water closet. You can see the mess that we have in here. This had some kind of a crazy panel on it here, and then another panel to cover the electrical panel. It was just a real hodgepodge. So I'm going to change this framing in here and try and work it so I can put a bifold on there, so that when you open the one bifold, then you have access to the whole closet. But this all needs to be cleaned up, and you can see how, you know, what a mess. It's just been hacked and cut, and yeah, it's a real mess. So I want to get that cleaned up. You can see the back of the washer box there, how, you know, how it's been leaking, and that's all a mess. And I'm not sure what we're going to be doing for a furnace here. If we're going to be going back with the 80% efficient furnace, you know, that has a vent. So the 80% efficient furnace has the vent. So if we go for a 90%, we might qualify for a grant. I'm not sure, but a 90% efficient furnace is a condensing furnace, which means it's going to have a drain. And so when I get my HVAC guy out here, I'm going to talk about that. But this basically is all going to get tore apart. You can see it's just 2x2s and old crappy drywall. And I'm going to reframe this section here. This wall here is for the fridge, so I'm going to frame that so it comes out more further out for the fridge. And then all this drywall is coming off here. Going to be putting in a pocket door. And then I've got, this is the laundry area, and so you can see, you know, I got this skanky old box here. You know, again, that's just a 2x2 wall. So I'm going to reframe all of this. I want to put a pocket door in here because you can see there's really no place to swing a door. And when I took over this place, they had the door taken off. So, you know, here is the range. And if you go this way, it's a cabinet. So a swinging door is always in the way. Washer and dryer there. And then if you have whatever you have there, shelves or whatever, it's always in the way. So I think I'm going to go with a pocket door. So that's up next week. And going to get this all straightened around. I'm going to get my HVAC guy out and get him lined up for the for my HVAC system. And then once we get past that, get that all ready, you know, I want to re-drywall all that and get it filled and painted, you know, taped and filled and painted so that it's, you know, nice and clean when the new appliances go in there. I'll get my hot water tank set, the new hot water tank set there, and just get that, you know, get that all set up. And then I'm going to get up on that roof. So yeah, the roof's going to be a big job, and it's working out good. You know, we're in this little spring weather session here where, you know, we have a lot of wind and a lot of rain, and this wouldn't be a good time to be up on the roof. So yeah, skirting was a good job to do, and next week I'll be cleaning up that over there, get rid of all the drywall and stuff, and then we'll be getting rid of this pile of lumber here. This is all for the roof. All right, folks, well, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.